Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about the dark side of role models. So, recently, and probably forever, going back 200 years, there have been several scandals, there have been several news articles and press releases about many different celebrities and people that are typically role models. And turns out that some of them are absolute monsters. Some of them are really deceitful. Some of them are awful human beings, abusive, secretive. They have some dark habits and some bad stuff going on. And it got me thinking about basically the dark side of role models and how we have to be really careful who we look up to. And is it possible to have a role model that, motivates us and makes us try to be better and makes us try and do good, but can you separate that from the actual person that they are? And turns out that people make mistakes. People do horrible things. People should not be revered. People should not be looked up to in certain settings and certain ways. So yeah, it's got me thinking about role models and why sometimes it can be super dangerous to put someone on a pedestal like this, because they won't be able to live up to that. And they're only human, and sometimes they're worse than human. Sometimes they make real bad choices and real bad moves. So it's got me thinking about these things. And I have several role models in my life. Some of them are people I know personally, like my dad, my mom, grandparents, teachers, things like that. And one of the biggest things that you learn when you have a role model that you know personally is, wow, this person's just human. They make mistakes. They screw up. They, do things that they really regret or that they shouldn't have done in the first place. And that is quite a moment, I think, in a child's life, is when you realize, like, oh, my parents aren't perfect. My role model isn't perfect, And it can be quite a break from your whole worldview. It can be quite a shock of like, oh my gosh. For me, I found it quite relieving because I had looked up to these people, and I still do, but I had looked up to these people with a huge amount of admiration. And then learning that they were human and that they made mistakes was actually really freeing, because I was like, man, that's good to know. That's good that, I don't have to be perfect to be an incredible human being. I don't have to hold up these expectations every waking moment of my life. I can be a normal human that messes up from time to time. And as long as I can gracefully apologize and come to terms with being human, I'm okay. I'm fine. I will be just fine. But the recent, and I'm going to try my best not to talk directly about the celebrity who has royally screwed up throughout their life, and it's all just hit the fan recently. But it's quite incredible, because this person has been revered and, man, top of their game, leader of the industry, doing so well at so long, and being a mentor to fellow people in the industry and things like that. Turns out, huge amount of abuse, huge amount of mistrust, and some really criminal behavior in general. And it just makes you think, like, if this person can turn out to be a total monster, how many more are lurking in the shadows? And yikes. I think one of the biggest things, that the takeaway that I've learned from this experience, is that you should never revere celebrities. These people, these artists, whether they are actors or musicians or photographers, whatever they might be, they should not really be revered. I think you can enjoy their art, you can enjoy the thing that they create, but to actually revere the person themselves is this weird, very modern concept that doesn't really have like a long history of existing. Like if you think about the idea of a celebrity, the idea of someone very famous who everyone is kind of obsessed with, that's not really like a long-term thing. It's only been recently with our social media and our film and television that the general public gets to kind of feel like they personally know some of these people. Like, you know, you might have an impression of what you think of Tom Cruise or Angelina Jolie or Taylor Swift or Oprah, but we don't actually know who these people are in the realest sense of the real word. Like we've never, most of us, like I've never met these people. I've never interacted with these people. You can hear about a fan encounter and what it was like to meet this person, and that might give you a little idea of who the person is or how they act with a fan in that exact moment. But we can never truly know who these people are. And so to revere them and to have this incredible worship of celebrity is really crazy to me, especially because many of these people produce, you know, maybe produce an impactful song that really hits us in a meaningful way, or portrays a character in a film or a TV show that we really identify with. But that's it. You know, I think there is this idea that we glorify authors and artists and film and television characters. And we tend to really obsess and we try to identify with this person and we try to learn everything we can. It's like, oh my gosh, they're a Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn too. That's so amazing. And it's this weird level of obsession that we get. And then when we are presented with the real person in like a scandal or leaked videos or whatever it might be, we're kind of shocked and appalled and abhorred. And there is a lot to be said for some of these celebrities getting into some real bad stuff, for sure. But a lot of them are just human. And when we learn that they're just human, it can really impact us. And I grew up in the era of girls screaming and crying over Justin Bieber. And that was my first real introduction into this idea of like celebrity worship. You know, you had these Bieber believers and the One Directioners and, you know, these boy bands and things that girls would just be crying when they met. And the boy band member would be like, hi, like, are you okay? Do you want a hug? And the girl would just be sobbing, like standing next to him. And you think, why is this so insane? Why is this so crazy? It's like they're meeting Jesus or something, you know? And I know this has existed for a while with like Beatlemania, the Beatles and, you know, things like that have come before. But it's been like this crazy thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Taylor Swift, but the idea of like crying in front of her is just like, what? Like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why? Like, I love her music and I identify with a lot of it. And, you know, I think she's very talented. But if I met her in person, I would just be like, hi, oh my gosh, it's nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan. There wouldn't be this whole revering of the character. Like, she's just a person, you know, she's just a human being like me. And the idea of this obsession, I don't think it's very healthy. And like I said, you know, tomorrow there could be an article that says this person did this, and your whole world is just a bit shattered. You know, this person that you've tried to personify and you've tried to learn all about and act like turns out to be like a total crazy. And, you know, suddenly where do you go from there? Where does your life, how do you move on from that? How do you reevaluate your sense of self? And I think that's kind of hitting it on the head. We have this idea of our self, who we are, and we tie it to the books we read, the movies we watch, the television shows we watch every single day. We tie ourselves to what we like in such a fundamental way, which is so different than I think how most humanity has carried on. You know, like, oh, I'm a Swiftie. I'm a fan of Teen Wolf. I do this. I watch this. This is who I am. I watch Heartstoppers. I like, we tie so much of our identity to what we consume in our media, in our culture. And I think that has like a detrimental effect on your sense of self, because if you don't first and foremost see yourself as a good person, like a good big brother, a good mother, a good father, a good son, whatever, you know, the characteristics that actually make you who you are, the relationships you have, the values that you hold. Instead, you just see yourself as like, a fan of this role model. That's a really like uncontrollable facet of life. Like you have no control over who that person is, what that person says. That person tomorrow could come out and endorse the political candidate that you do not like, that you think is just Satan incarnate. And suddenly you've got to reevaluate your whole sense of self, which I think is quite detrimental. And that's why I'm trying to kind of advocate in this video to have role models that firsthand, maybe they're your high school English teacher, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's a grandparent, maybe it's a friend. I think it's always better to have a role model that personally. I think it can also be devastating when you find out that this person is a monster, but hopefully you have a good sense of judgment and you've been around this person long enough to know that they are a good human being. But I just think it's a dangerous and it's a slippery slope when you pick a role model who, is still out there active in the world doing stuff, and it could turn ugly fast. And I guess it's not so much role models that I'm talking about as it's just like celebrity worship and celebrity culture. But I think a lot of us do look up to these people. And in all honesty, I feel a lot safer with having role models that are no longer with us because you got their whole history there. You can at least see who this person was from cradle to grave. And I think it is possible to find a few people out there who were human, who made mistakes, but who owned up to it, who tried the best they could with the situation that they had in front of them. So maybe that's what I'm advocating for, is just have role models that are deceased or that personally. Maybe don't put up, certain celebrities into this pedestal where they don't necessarily belong. So that is it. That is the dark side of role models. Let me know who you view as a role model, and if that's ever bitten you in the behind. But in all honesty, thank you for watching. I hope you liked this one. Tried to keep it kind of lighthearted, even though the situation in reality is not lighthearted at all. And my thoughts really go out to the people who have suffered from this particular situation. So I'm really sorry about it, but we can all learn something and grow and hopefully make the world a better place. That's my hope. I hope you're having a beautiful day, month, year, week, millennium, century, whatever you're having. I hope it's amazing. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.